In today's video, we're going to be reacting to the insane rise of EU's best duo, Cammy and Setty. Now, this video is made by Ace, who makes some amazing Fortnite documentaries. I will leave a link to his channel in my description below, and let's get into the video.
Setty and Cammy are some of the most consistent players in all of Fortnite, getting over 8 top 5s together in FNCS, and both reaching over $1 million earned from the game. So today, we're going to take a look back to see exactly how they got here. Let's first begin with Setty's career. The first tournament he would ever play in would be the Champion Division Cup all the way back in February of 2019. And not long after, he would get his first earnings in the Blackheart Cup. And just a few months later, the World Cup would begin, a chance for players to compete for millions of dollars, and Setty did pretty well. Unfortunately though, he wasn't able to qualify, with his best placement being a 40th in the solo finals. However, he still made some pretty good money from the other weeks. After the World Cup was over, the first FNCS in history was about to begin, but he didn't play too well, not even making it to the heats. Going into Chapter 2, FNCS would change the squads, but once again, he wouldn't play well, not making the heats. However, it would be Season 2 where he would start to see improvement. After placing well throughout the qualifiers in FNCS, he would finally make the heats for the first time, but would fall short of making the grand finals. However, it would be in Season 3 where he would finally reach his goal. This season would be solos for the first time. After making it to the heats, he would place second,
Some people do
it to
way
his
better
first ever
in solos,
grand finals.
honestly.
But as expected, he didn't do the best, placing 66th. Going into Season 4's FNCS, it was now trios, so he decided to continue playing with Jcabs and Teak, who he had played with the prior season. After placing 4th in the second qualifier of FNCS, they would end up making it to the heats, and from there, place 5th, making it to the grand finals once again. But he still wouldn't be able to get a good placement, finishing in 24th. Even though his performances weren't the best up until this point, everything would change in Season 5, where Teak and Setty would drop Jcabs for the GOAT himself, Cammy. Now that we're up to where Setty and Cammy united for the first time, let's go back to see how Cammy's career went up until then. Just like Setty, his first tournament would be the Champion Division Cup, but he wouldn't get his first earnings until the World Cup warm-up. And throughout the World Cup, he would place decently well, with his best being a 48th in the Week 4 duos. He would continue to place consistently, but in the first two FNCSs, he wouldn't see too much success, until Chapter 2 Season 2, where he would start to pop off. After deciding to duo with Jcabs, they would place extremely well throughout the qualifiers, and because of that, they would make the heats, where they would end up getting 6th place, making it to his first ever grand finals. And surprisingly, they would do really well and end up getting 5th place, making him $20,000.
Dude, $20,000
in that same season
is crazy,
was the FNCS Solo
grands.
Invitationals, another chance for him to show how good he is. With some good placements in the qualifiers, he made it to the finals once again, where he would get 11th. Not too shabby. And for Season 3's FNCS, it was solos again, so Cammy was hoping to continue that streak of doing well, but long story short, he would end at 36th. Going into Season 4, it was trios once again, so Cammy decided to play with Artor and Raxo, and they would have extremely good placements throughout the qualifier weeks and quality grands after getting 3rd in heats. And in the finals, he would end up playing extremely well, getting 4th place. But even with a good placement, this trio would end up disbanding, and I couldn't figure out the reason why, so if you know, comment down below. But regardless, this decision would end up making one of the best trios in the entire world, with Cammy, Setty, and Teak coming together. And soon, they would prove why this trio is so good. Going into FNCS, they would unsurprisingly make the grand finals. But the real question was, how well would they do in their first FNCS together?
Oh, that's crazy. Just grab that person? That's nuts.
Spray tego tuba, one dead. Spray. Spray tego tuba.
Nice.
Zero, dead.
Nice. That's nasz jest
Heal off.
Nice. I nie widzi mnie. Nie ma leczenia, nie ma
Nice.
After the first day, they found themselves in first place on the leaderboard, but on day 2, things would start to fall apart. Another trio decided to steal some of their loot from their split, making them have to fight early on. And because of this, they died off spawn a few games, which caused them to fall down into 6th place in the end. But this was still proof to them that they worked well together and they could get that win.
Yeah, they could do it.
They just needed to prove it in the next season. But little did they know what was about to happen. After getting a 38th, 6th, and 5th in the qualifiers, they made it to the heats, where they just needed a top 6 to make grands.
Nice.
But unfortunately, they would get 7th place, just barely missing out.
Oh.
However, they still had
top
one
10,
last chance in
for
the
real.
reboot round. If they won 1 out of the 3 games, they would make it, but nobody was ready for what was about to happen. They ended up getting a 4th, 2nd, and 6th place
That's
in those
not bad.
games. Again,
That's not bad.
barely missing out on grand finals. Even though this was a very disappointing season, this trio never gave up and they decided to stick together.
Nice.
This would prove to be a very good decision going forward. This time they would place
just
3rd
get
in the
better and play
second
together.
qualifier, automatically making it into the grand finals, where they would end up getting 4th place in the end. After proving that this trio can be very consistent,
Nice.
nobody was ready for how dominant they would be going into Season 8. In the qualifiers, they would once again do well and make it to the heats, where they ended up winning, unsurprisingly, making it to the grand finals.
Nice.
And it was now where we would see one of the most impressive showings in an FNCS ever.
Nice.
Dawaj go. Kierujmy.
Nice.
Rami! Dead ostatni!
Nice.
That's nice.
Nice.
Box.
White!
Nice.
Nice. Oh, they win this. Nice. I think I seen that. That was good.
In the end, they won by almost 100 points on EU, and they ended up placing in the top 10 every game besides
crazy.
1. And at the time, this was one of the best performances in an FNCS ever. Luckily for them, the FNCS Grand Royale was right around the corner.
Snap.
Another opportunity for them to solidify why they are the best. So going into the finals, it was time to see if they can back it up once again.
Back it up. Nice. Nice.
Okej, biorę.
Na mnie!
Daj mi.
Wypierdalają się oni. Jeden, dwóch się wyjebało.
No i sobie.
Wygrasz to.
Nice.
Idzie zaraz masę skończył.
Masz 1 na 1. Ty szuka, on nie... Widzisz go.
Nice.
No jeden numer.
Nice.
Na momencie. Jest tu.
Dead!
Nice, dobijam.
Nice.
Dead!
Nice.
Even though they played out of their minds, it unfortunately wasn't enough to win,
No.
and they would finish in second
Oh,
place,
second?
right under
They're
Payson and
good.
Chapix. Now, even though they had back-to-back amazing performances,
Nice.
this trio would sadly have to disband.
Okay.
Because going into Chapter 3, the new FNCS game mode was now going to be duos. And at first, Setty would actually decide to play with Chapix, and Teak and Kami would play together.
Okay.
But in the end, neither of them had a super good placement in FNCS, with Setty getting 45th and Kami finishing in 20th.
Okay.
So after an underwhelming season, Setty and Kami decided to come back together as
Yeah,
a duo.
I'd go back.
Little did they know how much they would achieve together in the future. And their first season together would be very promising, with them getting second place in the second qualifier of FNCS. They would safely make it into the grand finals, where they would get a 5th place. And in Season 3, it would be more or less the same, with them finishing in 9th.
Okay.
Even though they weren't able to pull off the wins like they wanted to, they still managed to qualify themselves for the FNCS Invitationals at the end of the year.
Right.
The first LAN event since the World Cup. And because of this, they were determined to win, so they started grinding like never before.
They're just
coming
going
up with new
crazy.
strategies nobody has ever seen. Now,
Like
leading up
what?
to the event, they didn't have any outstanding performances,
Okay.
but we would learn later on that that's because they didn't want to give any of their secrets away. So going into the first day, it was time for them to show the world how good they are.
What's the next play? Cammy and Setty find their way to the high ground. Down goes Click to the hands of Cammy. Write a better story for becoming legends. Setty is fighting back.
He's gonna run out of
Cammy
that
is
eventually,
fighting back. They're looking to get inside. There goes the hero
They
they
did
were
not
looking
care.
for. Just one player separates them. But a corner
That's
to the
crazy.
side. And Setty and Cammy take game number 1. Now, off to Setty.
It's Cammy and Setty, the only duo left, and they find another one. Vito trying to put one there. 1v2 situation. Team looking to take first place back. Cammy and Setty, and they try to steal it away by getting
They did
that
it.
PR to
They're crazy good though. I really like
first
them as a
day,
duo.
they would find themselves in 3rd place, still in contention to win. And with all the hype being built up going into the final day, it was time to see who would be crowned the world champion.
Nice.
Was taken away by Cammy and Setty. Better late than never. 1v2 situation. NAEs, the world on Sentence shoulders. Down this game, and Sentence trying to take control, trying to fight for the high ground, but it's not.
Nice.
EU strikes again with Setty and Cammy taking their 3rd victory royale.
Cammy and Setty are here. 6 eliminations now. High ground looking
They're
down.
locked in.
And now we have EU versus NA. As he has no map, great tag there, and a trade, an opening stage. It's not looking good for EU right now. Into the zone they go. Slay and Larson are
Nice.
down. Larson is by himself, and now he turns and gets burned.
After the first 5 games on the day, they played the best we've ever seen them play.
For real.
And because of that, they were in 1st on the leaderboard. But there was still one team that could take away that win.
Who?
That would be Queasy and Vino. These 2 teams pulled so far ahead of everybody else that nobody had a chance to overtake them.
Golden
So with Kami and
Celtic,
Setty playing
Queasy.
so consistently and being
this
12
EU?
points ahead
No,
of
this
them,
is Invitational,
Queasy
sorry,
and
what is it?
Vino would decide to make one of the most intense plays in
Oh, I
Fortnite
remember this. I
history.
remember this.
What is this? What is this? Queasy, Vino are trying to take it by force.
You only win in one way, and that's taking that.
This was
round.
scary.
Vino is here. Queasy is here. Down goes Setty.
Oh,
It's a big
gosh.
trade. It's a one-on-one. This has to be one of the most explosive head-to-heads we have ever seen. Vino has to get this thirst here. He knows now it means everything. We might as well seal this deal. Why wait?
Double shield going out. He's trying to bait it. He's trying to
gosh.
bait the revive so that way Cammy might peek. Breaks through the wall.
Oh gosh. That's so crazy. That's so crazy.
After
That means they
taking down
won.
Queasy
Oh,
and Vino
he's so
off spawn,
excited.
Kami and Setty were officially the best players in the world, taking home the 2022 FNCS Invitationals trophy.
That's
After this insane
crazy.
event, we were now hopping into Chapter 4, where FNCS was going to be duos again. Now, after winning Invitationals, you'd think they'd have a good follow-up season, but unfortunately, they would end up getting contested in the grand finals.
I would just chill,
which
man,
resulted
honestly.
in them finishing in 23rd place.
Not bad.
In Season 2, though, they would make sure they had a good season. In the qualifiers for FNCS, they managed to get a 3rd and 1st,
That's good.
which, as expected, gave them a spot in the grand finals.
Nice.
Unfortunately for them,
just locked
this
in.
time they would be uncontested. And what a surprise, when unconned, they would get a 5th place.
Of course.
But most importantly, that 5th qualified them into the FNCS Global Championship at the end of the year,
Oh,
where they had a
Copenhagen.
chance to compete for a share at $4 million. But before we get to that,
I
there
don't think
was
they won this
actually
one.
another third-party LAN that was being hosted around the same time. And that would be the Gamers 8 Zero Build tournament.
Okay.
With a
Oh, Saudi
massive
Arabia.
$2 million prize pool.
That's
So
crazy.
it was pretty much just a better FNCS. But Kami and Setty wouldn't actually play this event together. Instead, Kami would play with Yapko and Setty would play with Tayson. But unfortunately for Setty, going into the tournament, he would get into an accident that gave him a pretty big scar on his head.
Oh,
now, apparently
what?
what happened was something fell on him while he was out and hit him on the head. So going into the tournament, it was understandable if he didn't do well.
No.
But they still didn't do too
A
bad
crossbar
placing in
bar fell on his
21st.
face?
But Kami, on the other hand, would impress everyone by winning the entire event with an insanely massive lead,
Oh,
making him
man,
the
I feel
first
bad for
back-to-back LAN winner. But coming back after the tournament, FNCS Major 3 was just a few weeks away, and this time they would continue to show why they are the GOATs at being so consistent. After getting 6th, 2nd, and 3rd in the
Nice.
qualifiers, they made it to the Grands. And going into it, they were obviously one of the favorites to win.
Right.
But this time they would end up getting a 4th place.
That's not bad.
Still very good.
Yeah, top
However,
5.
this team has shown time and time again they have more passion for this game than anyone else, and they have their eyes on winning at all times. So going into Global Champs, in their mind, they needed to defend their title and become the back-to-back official LAN champions for the first time in this game's history.
Nice.
Now, even though they made it to the LAN, they still needed to fight for their spot in the finals, since 75 teams qualified, but only 50 would actually play in the finals. And when they found out they were being contested, things weren't looking too good. But since they qualified through FNCS Major 2, they were able to play on the first day, where they only needed a top 25. So it was pretty safe to say they would qualify even when contested. But after dying off spawn in the first game, things were looking a bit rough. Until they ended up sweeping the team the rest of the games and finishing in 5th place because, well, it's Kami and Setty.
Nice.
But now the time has come for the final day of the tournament and only 6 games to determine who is the new best duo in the world. And to start things off, they would get a 4-kill third, an extremely good start. But they would end up falling off pace a little after getting a 16th and 19th the following games. However, in game 4, they would bring it back with a 6th place. So at this point, they were in 3rd on the leaderboard, but first two was Cooper and Miro had an almost 100-point lead ahead of them, and second was almost 60. So in the second to last game, they needed to make a comeback, but unfortunately, they would get another 19th place, and with that would drop them down in the 4th. And now they were over 110 points away from first. But in the last game, 2nd place would go down early, and shortly after, Cooper and Miro would follow. So now, Kami and Setty had the chance of a lifetime to come back. If they ended up getting a good kill win, they could play upset and end up taking home the crown. So in the last minutes of the tournament, it was time to see what they could do.
Damn, I feel so bad for
Setty. Soon to follow. Setty though,
or is it
he's lost his shields entirely as he drops back down with the rest of the lobby. Now Cammy doing what he can to try and back his duo up. Brief moment.
Where's Setty? I don't see my
might not be enough. They need these eliminations. It doesn't matter if they get the placements.
Here we go. Cammy on the run right now, trying to find some eliminations. Moneymaker might just be the next one, but another team's next door. Cammy has a decision to make, misses out on the opportunity to find elimination.
Oh, there's Setty.
How are they still alive right now? Truly fighting for it. Cammy needs a second here. He's got to drink the slurp juice, or at least find a siphon. Something of the two. Trulex, Jcabs on the low ground here. Have to continue
I believe in them.
As much as possible here, but 1-8 run it has been for Cammy and Setty. Rapid and Batman Boogar in front of them. Who will be the next to
mid-ground? But it's gonna be Blixie first.
Oh, they got a refresh. Nice.
To the Polish run, but instead Cammy, Setty.
Cammy and Setty, who are fighting for it and keeping it interesting. Oh my gosh, 4 HP. Trulex now coming in. He's hurt. It's a 2v1. What's he gonna do? Got a player behind him. Trulex gets broken out here. Cammy still giving him a run for it. 1 build, but there are 2. Cammy goes in. No shot hit. Trulex finds it. Siphon comes through. It's now a 1-on-1.
Oh, that was so close.
They didn't get the win and not nearly enough kills to
overtake Vino and Miro.
However, from that, they managed to place second, taking home $600,000.
That's insane.
And have a pretty good record getting first and second place at Worlds.
Oh my gosh.
So with that, I think it's safe for now to call them the LAN GOATs.
They are.
But one thing is for certain. This duo is one of the best we'll ever see in the game. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and check out some of my other videos while you're at it. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your days. Peace out.
Thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. And if there's a video you want to see, let me know down in the comments below. Peace.